Aleksandar Vučić is a Serbian politician who has been the Prime Minister of Serbia since 27 April 2014. He is also the leader and president of the Serbian Progressive Party. Vučić served as Minister of Information from 1998 to 2000 and later as Minister of Defense from 2012 to 2013, as well as First Deputy Prime Minister from 2012 to 14. He is a graduate of the Belgrade Law School. Early life. Aleksandar Vučić was born Evangeliko and Angelina in Belgrade. His paternal family hails from Sifilići near Bugojno in central Bosnia, from whence they were expelled by the Croatian fascist Ustases, settling near Belgrade where his father Angeliko was born. Vučić's paternal grandfather Angeliko, and tens of other close relatives were killed by the Croatian Ustases. His mother was born in Bečić in Vojvodina. Both of his parents were economics graduates. His father worked as an economist, his mother as a journalist. Vučić was brought up in New Belgrade, and finished the Branko Radičević Elementary School, and later a gymnasium in Zemun. He graduated from the Faculty of Law, University of Belgrade. He learned English in Brighton, England, and worked as a merchant in London for some time. After returning to Yugoslavia, he worked as a journalist in Pale, Bosnia and Herzegovina. There, he interviewed politician Radovan Karadzic and once played chess with General Ratko Mladic. As a youngster, Vučić was a fan of the Red Star Football Club, often attending Red Stars matches, including the one played between Dinamo Zagreb and Red Star on 13 May 1990, which turned into a huge riot. The homes of his relatives were destroyed in the Croatian War. Political career. Vučić joined the Serbian Radical Party in 1993 and was elected to the National Assembly following the 1993 parliamentary election. 2 years later, at age 24, Vučić became Secretary General of the SRS. After his party won the local elections in Zemun in 1996, he became the director of Pinky Hall. Minister of Information. In March 1998, Vučić was appointed Minister of Information in the government of Mirko Marjanović. Following rising resentment against Milosevic, Vučić introduced fines for journalists who criticized the government and banned foreign TV networks. He recalled in 2014 that he was wrong and had changed, stating, "I was not ashamed to confess all my political mistakes." It was during Vučić's term as the Minister of Information that Slavko Kuruvia, a prominent journalist, was murdered in a state-sponsored assassination. In 1999, before the assassination took place, Vučić gave a front-page interview to the tabloid Argument in which he stated, "I will have my revenge on Slavko Kuruvia for all the lies published." In Dnevni Telegraph. In 2014, Vučić apologized to the Kuruvia family for having waited so long to bring the perpetrators to justice, and thanked everyone who was involved in solving the case for their work. Radical Party to Progressive Party. Tomislav Nikolić, deputy leader of the Radical Party and de facto interim leader due to absence of Vojislav Šešelj, resigned on 6 September 2008 because of disagreement with Šešelj over the party's support for Serbia's EU membership. With some other well-known Radical Party members formed a new parliamentary club called Napred Srbije. On 12 September 2008, Nikolić and his group were officially ejected from the Radical Party on the session of SRS leadership. Vučić, as Secretary General, was called to attend this session, but he did not appear. Tomislav Nikolić announced he would form in his own party and called Vučić to join. Vučić, one of the most popular figures among SRS supporters, resigned from Radical Party on 14 September 2008. The next day, Vučić announced his temporary withdrawal from politics. On 6 October 2008, Vučić confirmed in a TV interview that he was to join the newly formed Serbian Progressive Party and that he would be the deputy president of the party. He then seemed to change his position. In 2010 he made statements such as a horrible crime was committed in Srebrenica, saying he felt ashamed of the Serbs who did it. I do not hide that I have changed. I am proud of that, he told AFP in an interview in 2012. I was wrong, I thought I was doing the best for my country, but I saw the results and we failed. We need to admit that. Nikolić stepped down as party leader on 24 May 2012 following his election as president of Serbia. Vučić assumed leadership until the next party congress is held to elect a new leader. On 29 September 2012, Vučić was elected as party leader, with Jorgovanka Tabaković as his deputy Minister of Defense and first Deputy Prime Minister. Vučić briefly served as Minister of Defense and first Deputy Prime Minister from July 2012 to August 2013, when he stepped down from his position of Defense Minister in a cabinet reshuffle. Although the Prime Minister, Ivica Dačić, held formal power as head of government, many analysts thought that Vučić had the most influence in government as head of the largest party in the governing coalition and parliament. Prime Minister. After the 2014 Serbian parliamentary election, Vučić's Serbian Progressive Party won 158 out of 250 seats in parliament and formed a ruling coalition with the Socialist Party of Serbia. Vučić was elected Prime Minister of Serbia. Invited by the Bosnian government to attend the annual Srebrenica genocide memorial, Vučić accepted, traveling to Srebrenica on the 11th of July 2015 to pay his respects. He was attacked by a mob in the crowd with stones, bottles and other objects and had to flee the area. Members of the crowd shouted, "Allahu Akbar," and "Die, Chetnik." Social media has called him a genocide denier. 2016 parliamentary elections. At a party conference of his ruling Serbian Progressive Party, Vučić announced early general elections, citing that he wants to ensure that the country has stable rule, that its current political direction will continue, including its attempt to secure membership of the EU. On March 4, 2016, Serbian President Tomislav Nikolić dissolved the parliament, scheduling early elections for April 24. According to opinion polls, Vučić and his ruling SNS are expected to obtain a comfortable majority. The ruling coalition around Vučić's SNS has obtained 48.25% of the vote. The result will give Vučić and his ruling SNS a majority in the parliament. Policies: anti-corruption and organized crime. Vučić has pledged to tackle corruption and organized crime in Serbia. He also vowed to investigate controversial privatizations and ties between tycoons and former government members. Vučić's anti-corruption drive has recorded a 71% personal approval rating in a March 2013 opinion poll, though in more than 2 years it produced no convictions and only a handful of arrests. Economy. After his election as Prime Minister in 2014, Vučić promoted austerity-based economic policies, whose aim was to reduce Serbia's budget deficit. Vučić's policy of fiscal consolidation was primarily aimed at cuts in the public sector. One of the measures was the reduction of pensions and salaries in the public sector, as well as a ban on further employment in the public sector. Vučić announced that his reform-based policies have reduced country's deficit and contributed to financial stability. However, criticism of Vučić's economic policy stated that his measures have not overall contributed to economic recovery. but have instead caused a further decline in living standard. On February 23, 2015, Vučić's government has concluded a 3-year standby arrangement with the IMF worth €1.2 billion, as a precautionary measure to secure the country's long-term fiscal stability. EU and immigration policy. During the 2015-2016 European migrant crisis, Vučić strongly aligned himself with the policies of the German Chancellor, Angela Merkel, and publicly praised German migration policy. Vučić also stated that Serbia will cooperate with the EU in solving the migrant stream going from the Middle East to EU member countries through the Balkan route, and that Serbia will be ready to take some portion of the migrants. Serbia will receive a certain number of migrants. This makes us more European than some member states. We don't build fences, Vučić wrote on Twitter, while criticizing the migrant policies of some EU member countries. EU membership in Kosovo. Vučić has been central to negotiations on Serbia's bid for EU accession, traveling to Brussels for talks with the EU's Foreign Affairs Commissioner, Baroness Ashton, as well as to North Kosovska Mitrovica to discuss the details of a political settlement between Belgrade and Pristina. During his visit to northern Kosovo, to garner support for the Brussels broker deal, he urged Kosovo Serbs to leave the past and think about the future. Relations with Croatia. In 2007, Vučić made inflammatory remarks about the Democratic League of Croats in Vojvodina, calling it a branch of the Croatian Democratic Union. In 2008, with the establishment of the Serbian Progressive Party, Vučić said that the goal of a Greater Serbia taking Croatian territory up to the proposed Virovitica-Karlovac-Karlobag line is unrealistic and silly. In December 2008, Vučić announced that he would make a visit to Croatian Serbs, causing a controversy. The Croatian newspaper Jutarnji List claimed in a reportage that none of his family members had been killed during World War II, upon which he replied that these were brutal lies and attacks on his family. During 2015 and 2016, relations between Croatia and Serbia were further affected by the ongoing migrant crisis, when Croatia decided to close its border with Serbia. In September 2015, Croatia barred all cargo traffic from Serbia, due to the migrant influx coming from Serbia, in a move which further eroded the fragile relations between the two countries. In response to these actions, Vučić announced that countermeasures will be enacted if an agreement with Croatia is not reached. The dispute was eventually resolved through the mediation of the EU Commission. Yet the relations between the two neighboring countries remain fragile. On March 31, 2016, Vojislav Šešelj, leader of the Serbian Radical Party, was acquitted of war crime charges in the Hague Tribunal for former Yugoslavia. The verdict has caused controversy in Croatia. Vučić distanced himself from Šešelj and his policy, but stated that the verdicts should not be used as a tool for political pressure on Serbia. On April 7, 2016, Croatia refused to endorse the EU Commission opinion to open Chapter 23, a part of Serbia's EU accession negotiations, thus effectively blocking Serbia's EU integration process. Serbia accused Croatia of obstructing its EU membership, and Vučić said that his government was stunned by Croatia's decision not to support Serbia's European path. Croatia has not agreed for Serbia to open negotiations of Chapter 23. On April 14, 2016, the EU Commission rejected Croatian arguments in its dispute with Serbia. However, on July 7, 2016, Croatian Foreign Minister Miro Kovac announced that 5 conditions set by Croatia have been incorporated in the common position of the EU member States for negotiations with Serbia, which will be the basis on which Serbia's progress in Chapter 23, concerning the judiciary and fundamental rights, will be assessed. These 5 conditions are: Serbia has to 1. Steer clear of conflicts of jurisdiction concerning war crimes, 2. Cooperate with neighboring countries in search and identification of missing persons or their remains, 3. Strengthen its investigative, prosecution, and judicial authorities, 4. Strengthen protection of minority, and 5. Fully cooperate with the ICTY. Russia. Vučić has maintained traditional good relations between Serbia and Russia, and his government refused to enact sanctions on Russia. Following the crisis in Ukraine and the annexation of Crimea, Vučić has repeatedly announced that Serbia will remain committed to its European integration, but also maintain historic relations with Russia. We have proven our sincere and friendly attitude to Russia by being one of the European countries that refused to impose sanctions on Russia, Vučić said after meeting with Russian Prime Minister Dmitry Medvedev. Serbia will continue pursuing this policy in the future. During Vučić's mandate, Serbia has continued to expand its economic ties with Russia, especially by increasing Serbian exports to Russia. In early 2016, after a meeting, Russian Deputy Prime Minister Dmitry Rogozin Vučić announced the possibility of Serbia boosting its military cooperation with Russia by purchasing Russian missile systems. Ratko Mladić, before splitting away from the radical party of Vojislav Šešelj, Aleksandar Vučić was openly and publicly celebrating and calling for the protection of Ratko Mladić, a military leader accused of committing war crimes, crimes against humanity and genocide. In 2007, while Mladić was still at large in Serbia, Vučić was distributing posters stating, "Safe house for General Mladić." During a parliament session he stated that the Serbian parliament will always protect and be a safe house for the general, and that any house in Serbia that bears the last name of Vučić will protect and shelter Mladić. In the same year, Vučić organized a street protest where the signs naming the street after the assassinated pro-West Serbian PM were replaced with the signs effectively renaming the street to Ratko Mladić Boulevard. This has become an annual event in which Serbian ultra-right factions place the same signs on top of the regular signs to celebrate the anniversary of the Zoran Thindic assassination. Accusations of media manipulation and censorship. In July 2014, journalists' associations were concerned about the freedom of the media in Serbia, in which Vučić came under criticism. The German newspaper Die Tage Zeitung reported that the media in Serbia are censored and Vučić is responsible for that. Serbian journalist Jovana Gligorijević also expressed her concerns and said that the freedom of speech was indeed threatened because internet pages were blocked, blogs removed and bloggers arrested, for which Gligorijević indirectly blamed Vučić. The situation was exacerbated when the Commissioner for Media Freedom of the OSCE, Dunja Mijatović, wrote Vučić and made attention with the suppression of the media. Vučić said that the international community, foreign ambassadors and the OSCE would lead a campaign against him, because Serbia does not want to impose sanctions against Russia because of Ukraine crisis, and that the suppression of the media are nonsense. He also claimed that he had never heard of these portals, which were blocked, and demanded an apology from the OSCE. Paula Tide, the vice president of the OSCE in Serbia, rejected the apology. The head of the European Union delegation to the Republic of Serbia in Belgrade, Ambassador Michael Davenport, and the U.S. Ambassador Michael Kirkby shared Tide's opinion. Personal life. On 27 July 1997, Vučić married Ksenia Yanković, a journalist at Radio Index and SRPSKA Rec. The couple has 2 children. The marriage ended with divorce in 2011. On 14 December 2013, Vučić married Tamara Thukanović, a diplomat at the Serbian Ministry of Foreign Affairs.